Dr. Zee, where we share everyday stories with you, everyday women. Are you ready to hear heart-to-heart key issues that we all face, no matter where we are in the world? So grab your cup of tea and let's welcome your host, author, international speaker, reinvention strategist, and woman that's full of faith in God and mankind, Dr. Zena. Faith in God and mankind, Dr. Zena Arinzi.
Wow. Welcome and welcome. This is a good one. This has never happened before, but I love it. But now what's happening here? But guys, you caught me live all over the world. This is a good one. This is a good one. Welcome to A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Z. This is a funny one. This has never happened before. Oh, I see. I can see there's some connectivity. I can see there's a bit of a delay, but you can hear my voice. And for those of you that are not new, you know what I look like. So that's fantastic. And you can see me on YouTube later on the replay. But it's me, your girl, your hostess with the mostest, Dr. Zena Arinzi. And this is episode number 43. We're going to be talking about defying sisterhood, justice, and the power of storytelling. And it's another International Women's Month special. I've got a phenomenal, fantastic guest waiting in the wings. I can see her laughing. She see all the tech going all over the place. But the good thing about this is that this is how life is. You could wake up and you can be as right as rain, and then seconds later something else. So this is how technology is. It was right as rain. We've been online for the past 45 minutes. No problem whatsoever. And you can see I'm even sweating now. Let's get the fan out. I've got a pink fan. And we're fanning all my studio as well. But anyway, what am I saying? It's about being real. It's about taking, the good and the not so good. But you're welcome again. It's all about spotlighting amazing women around the world doing phenomenal, incredible things. And I have the amazing pleasure for my next guest. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her in a minute. And please, if you're watching, wherever you're watching from, please put in the chat where you're watching from. If you're watching, just pull it. Don't get distracted if I'm looking delayed. I'm looking at myself in the camera and I'm looking all over the place, but I'm not going to be distracted. So you don't be distracted. It's a Friday night here in the UK. And I have to say, today wasn't too cold. The summer is beginning to come. We're more or less in spring. I can see my guest. She's looking calm. I can see her drinking her cup of tea. And I'm looking like this. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I do this. This is all about spotlighting amazing, phenomenal, incredible women around the world doing amazing, incredible things. And you might be listening and you're saying, well, Dr. Zena, I'm not incredible. I'm not phenomenal. But I want to tell you that you are. For the fact that you are alive today, you are incredible. Someone somewhere is watching your stories, watching what you do. It's taking solace, it's taking strength, it's taking inspiration, motivation, taking empowerment, taking direction, taking guidance, taking even, I'm not going to do it the way that lady's done it. Whatever it is, you are influencing someone for good and you're also influencing someone for bad. So you have to put that in your mind. Keep that in your mind. So my charge to you, if you're listening right now or you listen on the replay, is to always do your best to put your best foot forward. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You keep on stepping. You haven't got time to sit down and say, oh, this is not working. You keep on stepping because people are watching you. When you fall down, how do you get up? Do you get up gracefully? Or do you get up or do you kind of stay down? That's what it's about. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's quickly quickly tell you a little bit about my amazing guest who is calm in the green room. Right. Now, my next guest, phenomenal, and woman, her name is Pamela. Pamela with a P, not that there's a Pamela with an R. Pamela R. Haynes. And she is the author, the best-selling author and award-winning writer of Loving the Brothers and Loving the Sisters. Loving the Brothers, I think, was published, and she'll tell you because I might get this wrong, in 2022. And it's all about, no, I'm going to leave this for her to tell you about that. But what I will say is that she's not just an author, she's an ex-senior probation officer. She's also, an international or global domestic abuse champion or advocate. She likes to tell me she's retired, but trust me, there's nothing retired about her. Every time I talk to her, she says, "Oh, no, I'm retired." There's nothing retired. She is such a hardworking woman. She's a domestic abuse facilitator. She helps survivors. She's also, I think in 2018, she was awarded Author of the Year and Author of Color for her debut novel, Loving the Brothers. That was in 2018, and Loving the Sisters was in 2022. I've got both of them, actually. She's won so many awards. She was shortlisted for a Black Girls Who Write Lit Award in 4 categories. I'm just going, she's got such, her bio is so amazing. I'm thinking, what can I pull out? What can I pull out? She's written articles for so many newspapers. She's written for The Voice. She's written for Sapphire. She's written for Pitch Black magazine, Keep the Faith magazine, The Nation newspaper, Right on Pen, the Queen's newsletter. The list is endless. She loves to write. She's also an international podcaster. And she launched her podcast in 2021 on International Women's Day. I hope I got this right. Yes, International Women's Day. And it's called Author to Author Podcast. Go figure, she's an author. Now, she's been nominated for several awards, and you'll be thinking, okay, why am I bigging her up? I'm not bigging her up. I'm just taking little bits. She'll tell you this. When I looked at her bio, I'm like, where do I start? But I'm just taking bits because she is really a powerful woman. But she's not just powerful. She's humble. She's soft-spoken. She's about making sure that whoever you are, you get all the support you need. And so, without further ado, I'm going to bring away out of the green room my amazing, phenomenal guest who is well positioned and available to contribute to any kind of research that you need, especially when it relates to women of color. Now, look, she's having another sip of her tea. I'm going to interrupt her now. Don't choke. Without further ado, my amazing, phenomenal guest, Pamela R. Haynes. Hopefully, yeah. Oh, I'm still moving, even though I've stopped moving. Oh, this is going to be fun. Pamela, welcome. I'm so grateful to have you on the show today. It's a good one today. I'm really expecting all the wonderful things we're going to talk about. But I'm just so honored to have you. Thank you so much for gracing this occasion.
Thank you so much for the invitation. We've been trying to set this up since last year. So I'm glad that it's able to happen this evening. So good evening to you and good evening to those who are listening and watching the show this evening.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so. I saw you looking really calm and collected while I'm like, what's happening to the tech? I'm thinking, this was working.
It happens. Yeah, not to worry about it. We're here now.
At 6:15. Absolutely. Now, the first question I want to ask you, thank you so much for, being on the show. You're absolutely correct. We, tried to set this up last year, but, our diaries and things like that. So it's lovely to have you. I'm so excited. Now, this is an International Women's Special, another episode really celebrating us as women, celebrating what we've achieved so far. There's still a long way for us to go as women, but we've achieved so much. And you, particularly as a woman of color, you've done so much, not just in the justice space, but in the literary space as well. And she likes to say that she's retired. She's not. Don't listen to her. Now, so my first question to you, Pamela, is really, 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 what really, what led you, because you've had an incredible journey, incredible career in the probation service, in the justice system. You're now a multi-award winning author. I didn't even touch the surface of all the awards that you've achieved. I know, I think a couple of weeks back, you also got an amazing Extraordinary Achievers
Absolutely.
Award for what you've contributed to, to the to not just the written world, but to life in general. So I want to ask you, you're a storyteller. You're really a storyteller, soft spoken, but you're a storyteller. And I want to ask you, why did you decide to use storytelling to spotlight the scourge that is domestic abuse?
Um, I suppose I'll start by saying that I'm an avid reader, first of all. So from childhood, had a library card, used to take out 6 books at a time. I also studied at school GCSE in English language and then at A level English literature. So most of the classics I would have read already, Jane Eyre, Pride and Prejudice, To Kill a Mockingbird, Luther, the whole range of books. And whilst I loved these books, I always felt that they didn't reflect people who looked like me. And also, their experiences didn't resonate with me either. Until I found Black fiction authors, and I'm talking about people like Buchiana Cheta, Rosa Guy, um, Terry
Mm,
McMillan, Andrea Leaving,
mm,
um, and obviously Toni Morrison. And so that's my baseline really, is that I've always been an avid reader. And in my career, I've always written stories for the magistrates or the judges, so the judiciary, because they always want to know in a form of a pre-sentence report what brought the service user before them, what was their backstory before they came to court.
mm,
So I always had to provide a narrative about where the person grew up, whether they were in employment, they're in education, in training, what their housing situation was like, what their mental health was like. And I was always writing these court reports. So that's my starting point really, is I've always written stories. I've loved reading them and I loved writing them in terms of court reports and so on. So that's where I first started. But in 2016, I was quickly coming up to my milestone birthday, and I just felt that I wanted to commemorate it in a meaningful way. So I had 3 things in my imaginary bucket list. The first one was doing a master's in criminal justice. I had this vision of wearing a cap and gown and walking elegantly across the stage as I approached my 50th year. But having a full-time job and looking after my family, there was very limited time to study. Where you just don't have the headspace anymore for studying. So I had to abandon that idea. And then the second dream that I had was about going on a cruise to the Caribbean. Always wanted to do that. So we booked to do that. And the last thing remaining was writing a book. No idea what I wanted to write about or where to start, but a series of things happened that led me to have the opportunity to write my first book, which was Loving the Brothers. So you're right. You're
yes,
right when you say that Loving the Brothers came out in 2018. I'm yeah, that's the cover.
that's correct.
Yeah, I
Okay.
met my publisher at a women's networking event. So my attitude is to always go prepared. You never know who you're going to be sitting next to, or who are influencers, who are sponsors, who are people who can open up doors of opportunities for you. And I just happened to sit next to an author who just happened to be, moving into publishing. And we got talking like you do. And then she asked me, would I like to be her first fiction writer? And that's how the journey started. Fortunately for me, Loving the Brothers was completed 8 weeks before my milestone birthday. And then I went on the cruise afterwards.
Wow.
So it was a
Wow.
magical, 2018 was a magical year for me. I picked up 2 book awards that year for Loving the Brothers. And it's been a roller coaster since then. So you're right, I haven't retired as I would have liked to. One door seems to open up another, which opens up another, and I'm going to walk right through them and explore and see what's there.
I love the way you've answered this question, Pamela, especially what you said. And listeners, wherever you're listening from, you can share in the chat, whether you're on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever it is that you're listening from. But take this away. This is a very good point. Always be prepared. So some of us were guides or brownies, or and it always talks about being prepared. Or for those of you that read the Bible, about the 10 virgins and the five that didn't have oil in their lamp or something, and then the master came and they missed out. I mean, nothing's changed today. You have to be prepared. You may not know what's around the corner, and that's good as well as bad. You may not know, but you must always be prepared. Be prepared for the unexpected. And I like what you said, you were prepared. And like you said, you sat down next to someone, and the rest, Bob, is your uncle. And, you had so many awards. It's unreal. And, sometimes we're waiting for perfection. We're waiting for everything to stack up. Like you said, you were like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do my master's in criminal justice. I want to do this. I want to do this. And we're all like that. We stack up the way that we want to do things. But your trajectory might be like this and still get on the top. But we always see things, in linear way. If I do one step forward, up, so you're climbing a ladder. But sometimes, not even sometimes, more often than not, it's more woof, dum, dum, up. Sort of thing. You're like, oh, what happened? How did I get there? So I like that. Be prepared. I love that. I love that. I mean, I can go to bed now. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I might as well just be a member of the audience. I'm done. You've given me what I need. Be prepared, Zena. But just on that point, though, what? Because obviously, I know generations change, and maybe generations might do things differently today. But that is something that I know that our parents, people that came during the Windrush, people that came from Africa, that came from Caribbean, they were always prepared, always preparing, always ready to either run or, they're always prepared. And I guess that's been instilled in us. But I want to ask you a little bit more about, you talked about being in the probation service and writing reports and all that. When I read your books, it just feels like I know these people.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't sound fictitious in any shape or form. It just feels like someone that's either in my family or someone I know in church. It just seems real. So, tell me a bit more about that journey.
Well,
or tell us.
I've had the title of Loving the Brothers for about 20 years. And I sat on it.
Wow.
And I sat on the story that I wanted to tell. I knew I definitely wanted 3 women, and 3 very different women as well. So Patty would be in our age group, a professional senior manager at work, managing teams, carrying herself, very well within the organization, but on her own. And I have witnessed, several colleagues who are in that position, who have the car, the house is paid for, they can go on cruises and they can travel, etc. But in terms of having a life partner to share those experiences, they don't have that. So I definitely wanted that kind of character in Patty, who is lonely. And she's attending these events where women are all together and they're talking about finding life partners, but it just hasn't happened for her, because she also has in her mind how she wants that man to look. how tall he must be, what his profession must be, how much income he's bringing to the table, and all these kind of things. Until, as you see in the book, she meets Marcus in the most unusual way. Um, I've also came across many clients who have children and are married, but they're in the relationship by themselves. The man isn't very supportive of what it is that they're trying to do, especially around rearing children. So I wanted a character in
Mm.
there who I found in Charmaine, who is trying her best and has really neglected herself within her marriage. There's infidelity that happens as well, and at the moment she's directionless. So I definitely wanted that character in the book. And my last character, Rose, is in the church. I grew up in the church. I went to Sunday school. Um, and loved my experience there, but I could see that there were women who were in church who were suffering, and
Yeah.
going through domestic abuse. And I strongly believe that if you are a woman of faith, you should have the best of relationships, not the worst of them. So
Not the
that
worst.
was something
Yeah.
that really troubled me when I witnessed that as a teenager. So I found that character in Rose, who is the pastor's wife. She has 5 children. She is chief cook and bottle washer. Prayer meeting happens in her home once a week. She's always at the hospital visiting somebody. She's sending out prayer requests, but when she shares what's happening in her marriage, she's quickly shut down by people who should have been able to help her and support her.
Mm.
So they're the three central characters of the book, three different women, but all going through something. And I think, aren't we all going through something? That we put on a professional
Yeah.
mask when we go to work, we
Yeah.
put on our Sunday best when we
Yeah.
go to church, but things aren't always as they seem.
It's so true. I mean, and you're absolutely correct. And I'm really happy how you've really, brought out the various characters so that people can see. Because when I read this book, like I said, in some parts you'll see yourself. There'll be you'll see yourself either way. You're giving and not getting anything in return, or where you're neglecting yourself, or you're in church. There's a bit for everyone, and that doesn't mean that you have to have experienced something really dire. But even that, like I said, the characters come alive. They come alive. It's like, oh, I know this person. This is someone I talked to on a Friday night at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're talking about, oh, we want to get married again. Oh, there's no men. All the men are taken. Or I don't want to make the mistake, or whatever it is. The kind of things that women talk about. And then you touched on loneliness, and you are so absolutely correct that you could be by yourself and be lonely. You could be in a relationship and still be lonely. Lady Diana, or Princess Diana, she said, I was alone in my marriage. And so there are so many people, and but like you rightly said, we all wear professional masks. Where you're scared. What part can I reveal? What can't? And if I reveal, people will laugh at me. I was talking to someone the other day, and I said to her that, you know what, you can't, because someone may laugh at you or may chat your business, not talk. You need to talk, because you need to check what's more important, you getting it off your chest and giving it to someone else to worry about, or you keeping it because people are going to be, oh, I don't care. They're going to chat your business anyway. So get it off, because stress, especially for us, black women, stress is one of, a major killer. Stress, diabetes, high blood pressure, and they just creep up on you. And so I just, oh, but I never thought about it like that. I said, yeah, for me, I don't care who talks about me. If I've got stuff that I'm going through, my key challenge will always be a bit about around my children. I'm a single mom, so it's about, they're grown up. I'm like, oh, please pray for me. This daughter did this, and I talk
Right.
about it. No, and that's what we need to do, talk about it. And so when I read it and I see the different things, none of them were talking about what they were going through. And like you said, one was looking really bougie, looking, she's got the car, and other women, we were looking at her and say, oh, I wish I could be like her. If only I don't have to do the dinner. I mean, I
Oh
have
my
people that say
gosh.
that to me. Oh, Zena, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. At least you don't have to think about a man. You need to cook. You can just eat what you like. And I'm thinking, oh, but I want someone that I can cook for, even if I cook
Yeah,
once.
and he can cook for
you know,
you.
you know,
You will see
absolutely.
in the book that Marcus is an accomplished chef, and he takes on that
Yes, yes,
responsibility. It's about
yes,
partnership, and it's about sisterhood as well.
yes.
When the women do get the opportunity to meet, because one of the very first tools that happen in domestic abuse is that the woman is isolated. So not many people are
Isolated.
aware. They're set up in a way that there is no one to share with, and
Mm,
frightened of recriminations if they do speak up and tell anyone, what's really happening with the marriage. And we've seen some really bad examples of where ministers have told women to hang on in there. They've been beaten black and blue, and their lives have been taken as well. Just last year, there was a famous singer, praise and worship leader
yeah,
in
Nigeria.
and
Yeah,
look what
yeah.
happened to her. And I'm sure that wasn't the first time. On average, women
Mm,
are beaten at least 35 times before they even call the police. And that's for a variety of reasons, but including not wanting to get the perpetrator in trouble because they have a family together, they have a reputation to maintain, whatever the reasons happen to be, that some women don't feel able to tell what's going on. So my book
I
explores all of those kind of things, but more importantly, it talks about
know it.
sisterhood, how the women support each other. There's humor in the book, so I don't want anyone to come
Yes,
away
yes.
thinking that it's all doom and gloom.
Get the book.
Um,
Get the book. Get the book. It's on Amazon. Get the
so
book.
yes, I hope that I have done them enough justice. And this was just a passion project, something to do to acknowledge the fact that I was turning 50. But the response I got from the book when it was published was overwhelming. People were reaching out, contacting me left, right, and centre on social media, wanting me to come and give talks, especially online, about raising the awareness of domestic abuse, because some people didn't know, some women didn't even know. They just thought it was part and parcel of a relationship or part and parcel of
Yeah.
a marriage. And even when the relationship is done and ended, domestic
Mm.
abuse can still occur. So that was the reason why I took up the mantle, started to signpost people, especially women and a couple of men, to places where they could get support, help, and advice. So that's how my advocacy work started.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And even as you're speaking, you're right. I remember this was maybe 2017. I was speaking at a domestic abuse conference, and just speaking, and then there was this lady. She must have been about maybe 70, maybe almost 80 years old, an African lady. And then she started wailing. So I thought she was looking at me. I thought she was thinking, "Oh, look at how I'm dressed." You know how the old church ladies
Yeah.
look at us. Well, I'm now
Yeah,
the
we
old
are.
church
Yes,
lady,
we
but
are. Indeed.
we're looking outside, and I'm prancing up and down, and I'm talking, and feeling cool and all that. And she was looking at me, and thinking, oh, in my head, okay, one of these judgmental ladies. Anyway, I'm still gonna be. She's probably thinking, okay, this girl's probably Nigerian, but she has no culture. Look at her just speaking English. That was what I was thinking she was saying in her head, because obviously that happens. But she was just looking at me, and then she burst into tears, and she started wailing. And why was she wailing? She was in a domestic abuse relationship all through her life. She joined her husband in the 50s. She couldn't read, she couldn't write. And there's nothing he didn't do. She never left. She never told anyone, because the way we are brought up is that you're not supposed to tell anyone
That's
about
right.
your
Yeah.
business. It's a very, it doesn't matter which part of black you're from, whether you're Black American, Black Caribbean, Black African, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You don't chat your business. Everyone just looks, and even on a wedding day, they would say, one thing you need to do, don't tell anybody what is happening. And so a woman goes away with that. The man chats his, tells his friends, he has affairs, he does all sorts of things. The bad man, not
Yes.
every man,
Yes.
And she wasn't telling anyone. She raised her children, but she was so, so sad all through her life. And then the man died. She mourned him like you do, And so as I was speaking, she was crying, she was angry, she was upset. She said, I didn't know this is what I was going through. I thought it was me. I thought I didn't pray hard enough. I thought maybe, if yeah. And so you're absolutely correct. There are people that go through these things that think it's normal. It's been normalized either because they've gone through it, or they're not talking with anybody else, or and they don't recognize the red flags. They don't even know what red
But
flags
when you
are.
think about it,
You know,
children are very often in the home, in the next room, and they witness
mm,
domestic abuse. I mean, I would argue that even the growing fetus in the womb can pick up vibrations and fear and anxiety within the
yep,
mother that feeds into their development as well. But if we accept that that's happening from that age, uh, it just becomes normalized throughout childhood. And when they then enter into relationships, they believe that, well, this is part of it. This is what goes on. And it's not until they receive maybe education, or they see, the way how other people live, or a newspaper article or a book, like back in Love in the Brothers, where women told me
mm,
they were unaware that this was a domestic abuse situation, because a person doesn't have to hit you physically for them to be abusing you. And we know about a look a man can give a woman that will just silence her. And there are a number of tactics that a man can use to silence women. And I have deliberately said what men do to women, because there's always that one person who will say, well, not all men, and women do
yeah,
it to men too, but
yes,
my calling is to help support women. So that's my area of
yes.
expertise, and that's what I focus on.
I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, there are many women who are, perpetrators as well. But in terms of stats, it's still one in four
Absolutely.
for women. So, and yes, I've heard, that obviously with regards to stats for men, it's unreported because men or underreported because men are not supposed to cry. Men feel embarrassed to say that their partners beat them and stuff like that, or did anything, or maybe not even do anything physical, but emotionally, I heard a story recently. Oh, I think it was during COVID, beginning part of COVID. It was shared on different WhatsApp groups, and we were supposed to pray for this man. This man had come from Africa. You might have seen it as well. He had come from Africa. I don't know whether Ghana, Nigeria, I don't know, one of those two countries. And his wife, was looking for someone to marry, and then she found him and brought him over. So he had no papers, so he couldn't work, and he was, you have a man of integrity. I mean, I don't know, but a man of integrity that wasn't prepared to, he just wanted to do everything the right way and stuff like that. So he wasn't working, he wasn't Ubering, using names or anything. He was just waiting, thinking, his wife was going to do everything from fire for him. Sometimes she would come back from work and say, "What, you haven't cooked?" and lick him, really, beat him and everything. And he was doing it. And sometimes she would do it. And her mom, so it was the mom and the wife, beat this guy, you're good for nothing, you're this. And then one time the man just left, he couldn't take it. And the neighbors used to hear him shouting. So they used to think that he
Right.
was doing something
Right.
to his
Yeah.
hair and all that, and all that. And a couple of times they called the police. The police came, no one spoke and all that, but they were suspecting him. Anyway, after a while, he couldn't take it anymore. And he left with his suitcase. Said, look, I don't care. I don't want to live in this country. They should deport me. They should deport me now. I can't. And he showed bite marks and all sorts.
Terrible.
Oh, it was
It's
really,
terrible. And some women,
terrible.
they do this knowing that the cards are stacked in their favor, that they're more likely to be
Yeah,
believed. I once heard of a
yes.
bouncer who was over 6 foot tall, managing the door security, and his partner was the total opposite. She was, under 5 foot tall, slim build, and it was her that was abusing him, knowing that. when the police are called, who they're likely to believe, her over him. And this whole thing around immigration status and, not doing your paperwork and not filing for you properly in a timely manner are things that keep women in situations. We had a neighbor a very long time ago, an Asian woman. She was never encouraged to leave the house, never encouraged to learn how to speak English. And her children would abuse her as well. So it wasn't just her husband, but you would hear the verbal abuse that they, and her thing is she just wanted the violence to stop. She was happy to stay in the marriage. She was happy to be subservient. She was happy to submit. She just wanted the violence to stop. So there are some women in some terrible predicaments out there. I do remember being asked to speak at a particular church particular denomination, because my friends suspected that there were women in the congregation who were suffering from domestic abuse. And I was told by a panel of men on the committee that I couldn't come because I'm not the same denomination as them. So they are also um, rubber stamping what the women do. But
Yes,
the
yes,
good thing about having a
yes.
book, and I'll show Love in the cover again, the good thing about having a book is that the book can travel through the congregation. The book can be passed
Absolutely. I'm
on,
just looking.
between members and so on.
I I really would recommend that you get the book. The book it's a fun book. It's a story, so it's a fun book. If you can call it fun, but it's also lots of lessons that you can learn from it, and you can also share it with other people if you're trying to talk to them. Because obviously, if you have people that are going through some of the situations that have been really expanded upon in both books, you might not know how to address this. You can just give them the book,
Without fail,
and
people who contact me start with the book. So especially Loving the
mm,
Sisters, which came out in 2022, and my
yes,
characters on the front, they talk about one of the women, because everybody's rooting for at least one of the women in the book.
yes,
And
absolutely,
they start
yeah.
there, and then eventually they end up telling me about their own experiences of domestic abuse, or somebody that they know, or somebody that they suspect. Because as you were
Mm,
right when you said at least 1 in 4 women experience domestic abuse in their lifetime. So that's a lot of women. And when I get a chance to
that is.
speak, to women, I know that there are victims and survivors in the room. They may not be able to
Mm,
speak. They may not talk to me. I remember
mm,
one radio interview, my very first radio interview. Um, One of the presenters was so hostile, and I'm thinking, but you guys invited me. Why are you so angry? And she absolutely hated Charmaine in my book. But it wasn't until much later on she was able to tell me that she identified with Charmaine. She was going through
yeah,
similar
yeah,
experiences as Charmaine, and that's why
yeah,
she,
yeah,
disliked her. So without fail,
yes,
people find somebody that they're rooting with, and then they end up telling
yes.
me their own personal experience or their situations. And then, they're not a particular type of women. They are women who are magistrates.
Mm,
There are women who are probation staff. They are serving in some capacity. They're nurses. They're looking after children.
mm.
They're educated. Um, Domestic abuse doesn't discriminate. It's an equal
No, not at
opportunities
all.
employer. It's
It really
right.
is.
It
It hits
hits
anyone.
anyone
It doesn't matter
and
how nice.
everyone. I once
Yeah,
worked with a
everyone.
beautiful barrister, and when she came home, she wasn't allowed to do anything indoors except for serving her husband. And he used to tell her, you think you're this and you think you're that because you're at work, but that stops at the door. When you come in here, you have to do as I say.
Yeah,
And the terrible situation that she was in, even her salary was paid into his bank account, so she had no control
can you
over
imagine?
how money was spent. She didn't know whether bills were being paid. She couldn't plan for the future because she had no financial control or say in how those big financial decisions were made.
I can see how your experience, your very lived experience in the probation service has really kind of reflected in the characters that you write about, and even the people that somehow God draws you to, because that professional women will read and come to you because they'll say, okay, you get it, you get it, you've probably met someone like me in the workplace, you get it. So the question I want to ask you just on that is, what role would you say, in your opinion, in your experience, would you say that your role as a senior probation officer, how has it helped you in terms of shaping your storytelling?
I think for me, I've been in a privileged position where I manage teams of probation officers and probation staff. And one of the things that I loved about my job was supervision. So one-to-one with a staff member. I loved
Mhm.
that, the opportunity to hear them talk about the cases that they're managing and the direction they were hoping to go in. But we also looked at the impact of their caseload on their health and their well-being. Somebody may be triggered as a result of managing a particular case.
Mm,
So, for
mm,
example, we had
mm,
a colleague who was involved in an aggravated burglary. She came home from work, and these two men were in her house, and she got roughed up as well. They stole loads and loads of antique jewelry from her. Well, when we eventually
mm,
got her back to work, which took some time, some months to get her back into work, we had to really monitor her caseload. She wouldn't want to then manage a burglar, for example. But when we have
mm,
had
mhm,
women who work in the caring professions who, can easily get triggered by a domestic abuse case if they have experienced it before. We had an A-star student working with us, brilliant, bright, intelligent, and we just noticed that her grades and her was just going downhill, and the university expressed some concerns as well. So we had a meeting and we called her in to find out what was going on. And one thing I pride myself on is creating a setting where people feel they're able to speak without being judged. And it was during that
mm.
meeting that she shared that a boyfriend that she had was jealous of the amount of time she was spending on her studies, and he actually threw her laptop out the window.
Oh my
Yeah, when we
days.
there are
Oh
so
my
she
days.
couldn't study. She was finding it difficult to have access to her work and get it in on time. And we've had loads of similar examples of that where we have to then support our colleagues the best way that we can, involve HR, work out how we can get women to safety. We've had people
Yeah.
posing as the husband of probation staff, wanting information about were they at work today and so on. So it's about ongoing training for our staff as well, so that we can help keep women safe at work. But yes, supervision for me is where um, I already had the themes, but some details of the stories that helped shape some of the work that I wanted to do.
Mm. I like that, because obviously when you're doing one-to-ones and when you're doing supervision, yes, you're going to be talking about the caseload. Are you able to manage your caseload? What's difficult? What are the risk factors? And all the normal things. But you also ask them, how are
Absolutely.
you? Now, sometimes when you ask, how are you? Sometimes people keep masks on, but there'll be that day that you ask, how are you? And when you least expect it, they burst into tears, or they say, and it just, and then all, yeah. So I like how you said you create a space where people can feel safe to speak when they're ready, because obviously we can't take away people's agency when they're ready, and that is really, really good. I was going to ask you, with all the various themes and the characters that are in the book, what would what has been, I know you've touched
Yes.
on it already, but what has been the reaction of the various people that have come to you? Because you've talked, lots of people have come to you like, oh my days, that I can see myself, or I know someone. I just want to unpack that a bit
Yes.
more.
Some have contacted me privately. So some former colleagues have contacted me privately just to encourage me to keep on going. I have Grace, Pastor Grace, from America, who contacted me and told me to keep on going because it was prevalent in the church. And she helped me with some of the sermons that are in the book that Rose gives. And it's good to have people who are experienced in looking after people who have gone through traumatic events, who have come forward to
Yes.
say, can I help? Can I support you in the work that you're doing? But in all walks of life, I don't recall a conversation where someone hasn't commented or asked a question around domestic abuse. I do remember someone saying, do you mean that well, if they have a secret bank account that I know I don't know anything about, is that a form of domestic abuse? When they spend money on expensive things and we're struggling, or take out loans in my name, or these are all examples of financial and economic abuse.
Absolutely.
They're on the mortgage but they don't pay it. They're on cards. They encourage people to take out their partners to take out payday loans. I think by far the most distressing I've heard when I first started on this journey was, do you remember the family allowance book? Maybe not, because you might be
Oh
too young
yes,
to remember
yes.
that. But
I, I didn't have it myself, but I remember my mum talking
the
about it.
same, the
Yes,
same.
yes,
And
yes.
at that time, because it was a book, if your partner had it, they had
Mm.
control. And he actually went on
Wow.
holiday to Ireland with the family allowance book, and because he could cash it while he was there. But that meant that the woman
Mm.
was left in the house with children and hungry. And the
And
only reason why she
hungry,
came
nothing.
into contact with the criminal justice system was because she was shoplifting food to feed her family. And it was those kind of themes that was coming up that I wanted to explore further in the book. And when I talk to audiences about domestic abuse, that's one of the examples that I would use at a very basic level. But it's real, it happened, and that's
Mm.
how she entered the criminal justice system.
Wow. I mean, that just leads the segue is really great in terms of my
Okay.
next question. Why do you feel the probation service or the justice system, criminal justice system, as a construct? Why do you feel that sometimes it's overlooked when it comes to discussions about safeguarding?
For me, it's a lack of training. So very often key professionals are not trained enough to recognize, as you spoke about earlier, what some of the red flags might be. And there
Mm.
could be a lot of collusion with the
Yes,
authorities and the man who's going for it, because he may present in a certain way. Um,
very
yeah,
charismatic.
she's mad.
Yeah.
I've had one where he would control her medication when she had it and when she didn't have it. He would gaslight her and tell her that she's already taken it. He would tell other family members, she's not all there, she's off her meds. Get and even persuade key professionals. So when adult social care came involved, or other medical professionals, he would take the lead in telling them what was wrong with her, and nobody heard her voice, and she didn't feel as though she had a say. There's a film called Gaslighting, because that's where the term comes from, and I encourage those who are watching this evening to have a look at that film, but watch it and try and pick out and tease out what the red flags might be as you're watching it. So
Yes,
because there is a
yes,
pattern that people follow. He
yes.
proposed to her
Mm.
very, very quickly. She said she wanted to go away to the coast to think about it.
Mm.
The man shows up at the
Mm.
coast, and they end up getting married while they're there. And things happen so quickly, the
Love
love bombing, the flowers, the
one.
meals
Yeah.
out. You're the best thing since sliced bread. And this is all very calculating. And then he pulls that away and makes you think you're the one that has done something wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm saying not beg.
You want to go
You're,
back. You
you're,
want to
you're,
go back to when it was lovely, and when he was everything to you, and when he was charming and everything else. But this was the plan all along. And when they're done with you, they will move on. You know, there are some domestic abuse
Mhm.
perpetrators who are only attractive to women who are strong and successful and
Yeah.
doing well.
So they can
They
suck
can
you
take
in.
pleasure in just taking
Yeah.
that woman down.
Yes.
So for me, a lack of
Yes.
education, most certainly, a lack of training, and that's one thing that I did when I was working in the probation service, was take advantage of so many training opportunities that was there. So I was investing in my continuous professional development. So I think they call that CPD now, but I was always involved in making sure that I could demonstrate at the end of my appraisal year what courses I've taken, how they impacted my practice as a practitioner in the workplace. But there are some who haven't gone back and trained. Unless it's mandatory, they don't put themselves forward for training at all, and their practice becomes stale and it becomes risky. Because if you can't identify what the red flags are when you're working with someone, you're putting that person at risk.
As you were speaking, I was just thinking that, when there's joined up working, so it's adult social care, children's social care, criminal justice, youth offending team, whatever the agencies are, schools, GPs, whatever. When there's joined up, and when people maybe take a more um, you are innocent until proven guilty. That there must be a reason. In law they call it, criminal law they talk about causation. So there must be something that caused you to behave in the way. But typically, I can imagine when using that example, when that woman got nabbed for shoplifting food, all they're looking at is this woman that steals food. They're not thinking about why, she hasn't got any money, or she's a thief. That's how they're
Absolutely.
looking. And I guess, what you're saying, when you have the right sort of training, you'll be able to tell a little bit more between who is who is a
Criminal career. Yeah.
born
Criminal
criminal.
career. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And someone who's done it, through circumstances. Like there are lots of people, people that, sex trafficking and stuff like that. They've been trafficked, maybe they've been taken from Barbados or from Nigeria, when they've been promised, or from Poland or somewhere, promised heaven and earth, and they go and they get their passports taken away from them, and all that. And then after a while, they're desensitized, and that's what they do and all that. But when you see them, you see them in Dubai walking around, you're like, look at them, look at them, prostitutes, but not knowing, where the story. You're right, everyone has a story. And just on that note, oh God, we're having so much fun and time is going so quickly. Can't believe it. But on that note, I wanted to ask you, what challenges do you think that people can have? No, before I come to that question, I want to ask you a bit more about storytelling. How do you feel that people can, women in particular, women of color, can move forward, can heal through storytelling?
I mean, I've always grown up to believe that a problem shared is a problem halved. And I
Mm,
also believe in sharing with the right people. An example of that is, and I've been telling people about you, and that particular Friday when we spoke on the phone, and we were talking about
mm,
doing TEDx at some stage. And I said to you quite clearly, I don't want to apply. I don't want to fill in an application. I want to do it, but I don't want to fill in an
mm.
application form. I don't want to go to all that trouble selling myself. I do believe that my 30 odd years of working in the criminal justice system is qualification enough. And people get invited to the TEDx stage, and I want to
Yes,
be invited. That was the Friday,
yes, I
right?
remember that
And then the
conversation. Yes.
Monday, I was speaking to my
Yeah.
mentor, and we were talking about investing in ourselves. And I said, yes, I do believe in that, because last year I went to a writer's retreat in Jamaica. And he said to me, Pam, you can travel. I said, yeah, I don't know why you got the impression that I can't travel. And he said, well, come to the TEDx stage in Abuja, Nigeria. And for me, it was about sharing with the right person, because you were supportive. You were endorsing what I had to say in that conversation, and we were manifesting
Thank
together.
you.
And I
Thank
believe that's
you.
how that happened. So women need to be friends to other women. I am not your
Mm,
competition, and you are not my competition. And this whole
yeah.
TikTok trend, we listen but we don't judge, we actually need to do that with each other as well. So rather than saying, why don't you leave? We should be asking, well, why is he violent in the first place? That's where the
Mm,
questions need to
mm,
be, not on the reason why
mm,
women can't leave for a
yes.
number of reasons. It's her house. What about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
She pays the
Yes. Where's
mortgage,
gonna
you know, or she's the
Yeah.
she's the renter. The property is in her name, and she's done it to a particular standard. Why should she be the one to leave? So I do believe that women can be more friendly to other women. And I do have a friend who went through something similar, and I went to her home all the time, just giving her that support. And her husband used to say, "Oh, hello, Sister Pam. It's so lovely to see you." And it wasn't until she escaped the relationship and the marriage that she told me, "Pam, he never liked you because he knew you would have
Mm,
something to do with us getting away."
yes.
So let's be
Yes.
more friendly. A smile can save somebody. You know, just sitting next to
You're
somebody in church could save someone. Just being that health visitor that's just being a little bit more attentive to what's going on and give the woman the opportunity to speak and to share what's on her mind.
I really like and you're absolutely right. There's more than enough to go around. Whatever it is whatever it is you're doing, you're listening, whatever it is you want to do, what it is you're not doing, there's more than enough to go around. We need to stop competing. I don't compete with anyone. I'm unique. But for those of you that like to compete, there's no need. There really is no need, because what you're doing, you're so busy competing, you're missing your kairos moment. You're missing opportunities because you're trying to be like someone else. And just like Pamela said, earlier on when she was talking about the various characters, the character that all of us like the most. I'm not going to tell you which
Oh,
one because
okay. I'm
you have to read the
interested
book.
now.
I'm not telling you. But many people would like to be like that particular character. You're looking at her, you want to be all together, and we tend to see those people in church, in the workplace, on the train. You're sitting on a train, you got your trainers on because you can't, like me, I can't no longer walk in my shoes for very far. So I wear the shoes just before the
The
event
same.
and do the event on stage and then come down and wear my trainers on my flat shoes. But then you see people wearing the 6-inch shoes, walking slim, you're like, oh God, I wish I could be like that. Or why is she looking like that? She feels she's too still. Whatever it is you might be saying. But you have no idea what's behind the Mac.
Not at all.
You have no idea. I sat on trains where I'm looking at people and I'm seeing people crying, or I'm seeing people about to cry, and you want to get up. And in this day where you're not supposed to, I'll get up. I'm like, hi, I don't want to be offensive, but are you all right? And they look at me like, I can't believe it. And they burst into tears. I'm a hugger. I'll say something. I always say something like, my children say they can't take me anywhere. They start laughing. But can I just hug you? And then obviously you spill it that, and they hug, you hug and say, I said, I don't know what's going on. I don't need to know, but I just want you to know that you've got this. And I hug, and so you don't have to know the person, but just be there. Be there. You're not always going to get, yes, please hug me. And you might
Yeah.
not be a
Yeah.
hugger. But what I'm saying, be that support that someone is looking for, or be that support that you would want, because some people just want a listening ear. I don't want to hear you telling me, why did you do this? Why are you sure? What did you
I
do?
hear
Did you
you.
burn
I
the
hear
food
you.
again? Do
Yeah.
I remember in school, you used to dress up, you got your boobs out. Your boobs out. You're not listening. Whatever. No, 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 no. You listen. You don't judge. Just listen. Sometimes she may not tell you anything until she can trust you. She might not. She might be going through things for years, and she might not say anything, but she will remember that you were always there. And I'm talking from
Absolutely.
experience. This is my lived experience. So I'm not saying that this is my lived. It's what I do for other people, but it's what happened to me as well. It's really, really important. I'm going to stop, and I don't want to stop. I need to bring you back. I don't want to stop because we're just talking calmly as if we can be here forever and all that. But I like the way that you've broke everything down. The last question I'm going to talk about quickly is this year. I think last year, we're in 2025. Last year, the World Economic Forum, I think, said that we as women are 134 years away from equity, equality, parity, and everything else. And that's for women generally. And between you and me, that's not that they're not talking about
Right.
us, they're talking about
Yeah.
women generally. So if that's 134 for women generally, the ours might be like I don't know how
Yeah.
many years, you know. So I want to ask you from your perspective, how does and I had the opportunity. I'm part of CSW 69, so I was online today to watch the closure of that and the opening ceremony of CSW 70. This is with regards to United Nations women, and different women from different representatives from different nations were all speaking about what was written, their views, gender. Was it mean man or woman? No, it's not. It means this. Whatever it is, everyone had different views, and that's all right. Different countries were talking about different things, and so from your perspective, how does domestic abuse tie into the wider conversation with regards to gender equity, especially when it comes to women of the global majority, and then especially when it comes to women of color? And I think that will be my
Oh,
last question.
it's a huge question, and it's disappointing to
Yes,
hear
it is.
that we are 100 and how many years away from.
134
Yeah, I
years
mean, that's
away.
so disappointing to hear. What I will say is that I can't change the world, but I can change the world around me. So with how I deal with people will make a difference. My neighbor knows that she can come to me, and I know that I can come to her over the slightest thing. Oh,
Mm,
the other day I just went to borrow a safety pin. She knew exactly where to get one from. We can create our own community where we look out for each other. And if I see an
mm,
opportunity for you, I will share it with you. And if you see an opportunity for me, you will share it with me. So change the world around us. Are we friendly to the women that we meet in just our general circle? They don't have to be your friends, but are you friendly? I went to an awards
yes,
evening,
yeah.
as you know, 2 weeks ago, and I met one of my Facebook friends and went over and said hello. And she must have thought, who is this woman coming up to me? I thought that we knew each other. I thought we were Facebook friends. And we're in the same WhatsApp group, a massive WhatsApp group. And it's a good job I kept my own counsel and I didn't really read too much into it.
Mm,
But the following day, she found my number and she called me and she apologized because she didn't recognize me at all. And
yeah.
she said, yeah, but I see you, you're on TikTok all the time. And we had a conversation. Sometimes we're quick to rush to what the worst might be. Oh, she thinks she's
Mm,
this, she thinks
mm,
that.
mm,
And it
mm,
was nothing more
mm,
than I was glammed up that day and she didn't recognize me. It was nothing more than that. So we need to just be giving our
mm.
sisters the benefit of the doubt, loving them where they
Yeah.
are and admiring them where they are. And I'm the first to give a woman a compliment if I see that she looks nice. I'm the first to click for her and I'm first to clap for her.
Mm,
Something as
mm.
simple as celebrating somebody else's success is a quick win.
Yes.
Somebody picks up an
Yes.
award,
Yes.
just say congratulations and that's it.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
can't
Yes.
change the whole
Yes.
world, but collectively we can
Mm.
change the world around us and make that a safe space
No,
for other women.
I do. I do. I do like that. I like that a lot. That's a good one. That is a good. I'm going to steal that and talk about it at my next event, Power of 3:30 on Wednesdays. you can change the world around you, not the world. So change. I like that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Say it again and TM it. TM it.
Okay.
Put it on TikTok. Put it on
Yeah.
Instagram. I love it. I love it. I love it. Change the world. And one last thing. I'm just trying to squeeze out everything from
No
you.
problem.
If you needed to give 3 final insights, tips, to help women, especially women of color, to really be their authentic self. So take off the mask. I'm always talking about mask wearing, taking off the mask so that they can get the help that they may need, or they can render the help that other people may need. What would those
I
3
think that
tips
there's
be?
definitely some power in spaces where women are all together. So I'm a member of Soul Purpose 360, which is a Black women's led organization. And I've had a chance to be a facilitator and to also be a participant. And some of the subjects range from financial literacy right the way through to creating your own vision boards. But being in the presence of women who look like me, I have found very, very powerful. So I would say join organizations and networking events like that promotes what we do. I think I
Yes,
can
yes.
safely say I can count on one hand the 5 female friends that I have, and every woman needs an entourage that they can be around. So find your tribe, women who have the
Yes,
same kind of discipline as you, who will lift you up when you're down, who are
mm,
supportive of your goals and where you're trying to get to. So there's mutual respect. And I always say to women who are in relationships to love your partner 100%,
mm,
but to love
mm,
yourself
mm.
101%. Hold that
Yes, yes,
1%.
yes,
So I'm not saying he gets
yes, yes, yes,
99. I'm saying he gets
yes,
100, but you get 101.
yes,
And that 1% is to
yes, yes.
develop yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever it happens to be. But that 1% is for you.
Yes.
So for me, last year, I went on a writing retreat in Jamaica because I need to invest in my learning. This year, I'm going to Abuja in June, and I'm open to any other opportunities that may come my way to develop myself. And that is not at the
Mm,
um, expense of leaving anybody else out. And
mm.
they're my 3
I, I,
takeaways.
I, I love them, love them, love them. I love them, love them, love them, love them, love them. Okay, find your tribe. Find your tribe. Find your tribe. Someone that can advocate for you. You can advocate for them. They can push you up, encourage you, tell you off when you need to be told off as well. But be there
I
for
mean,
you, tell you the truth.
that's why I've
You
got
know.
9 awards, because my friends are the ones who
Mm,
nominate me.
mm,
I have friends who will say, Pam, you need to get on this, and to encourage me in a particular
mm,
space. And we talked about
mm.
manifestation earlier on. I make sure I manifest with the right people. I only share dreams with people who can help me realize them as well, and not
Yes,
just
yes,
outing. We talked about outing our business. There
yes,
are the correct people
yes,
who you
yes.
need to be manifesting with. So find your tribe. As I
Absolutely.
said, I can count the women on my 5 hands, on my 5 fingers, who have helped supported me, and I support them also.
And that is good. And so don't feel too. And also, just to add on that, don't feel that you have nothing to offer, because there'll be some women that were thinking, oh, Dr. Zena or Pamela or whoever, they're so accomplished. What can I offer? You'd be surprised. Everyone has their vulnerability. Everyone has their insecurity. Everyone needs someone to prop them up. We all do. Like the song says, we all need someone to lean on. I was about to sing there, but it's a Friday night, and I think I was going to murder the song. So I could just, you know. Anyway, I'm going to end now. Oh man, I wanted to ask you about storytelling and how can it move us closer, but I'm going to leave that for another time. I'm going to say it live on camera so you can't say no. I'm going to bring you back. So we're going to talk about the brothers, loving the brothers, by itself and talk about what really, what made you do that. Oh,
Thank you
Pamela,
so much for having me.
thank you. I didn't even offer you a cup of
I've had
tea,
mine.
even though
I'm
I thought my
so there.
tea.
I've,
I was going to pour it.
thank
Yeah,
you.
great stuff. You're welcome. Thank you so much. It's been a blast. I actually love the tone and the pace of this because it's calm, it's non-judgmental. Not that any of
Yeah.
my guests have been judgmental, but for those people who may be listening to this now or listen on the replay, and this might be your story, at least listen carefully and take all that you can get out of this. And if it's not your story, but you're in a position to support someone, please, please, please go and get trained up as regularly as possible. Don't wait for your organization. Go and get trained up so that you can be the best support possible for people that need you, so that you don't end up re-victimizing people. And with that, I'm going to end. Pamela said, 5 people, have at least 5 people in your tribe. Thank you so much, Pamela. One last word from you, because I always like my guests to have the last word. Where can they find you? Please, you can find her interview. She's done so many. She's got online panel discussions found on her LinkedIn Linktree page. The link is here on screen. You can also see her on YouTube, Loving the Author. Well, at 40 Loving the Author. I wonder why she called it that. And you can also find her on Instagram. Let's see if I can find her Instagram details. Find her on Instagram. You can just reach out. You can invite her to your event to really speak about things that will really, resonate with you and your audience. So these are her details. She's on LinkedIn, Pamela R. Haynes, and on Insta at Loving the Author. Please reach out. Please reach out. What do you have planned next? I have to
Okay,
ask you
no problem
this.
at all. I mean, I wanted to take advantage of the fact that there are probably women who are listening to your show who are going through those experiences. And the National Domestic Abuse Helpline number is 0808 2000 247. It's a 24-hour hotline.
Let's see if I can
0808.
give me. I'm going to put it on
Okay.
there just in case there'll be people. If you're here in the
Okay.
UK, this might be. Yeah, and I'm going to try and put that now because this is always about being as supportive
Yeah.
as possible. 0808. Yep.
2000. So that's 2000
2000. Yep.
247. And it's a
247.
confidential
So
helpline.
08. Yeah. 0808 2000
Yeah.
247. Okay, let me put
And
so
I would say that next weekend I'm going to be in Ilford, speaking at the All Women's Network event there, which will end Black International
the
Women's
lovely
Day.
Hannah.
Yes.
Hannah is absolute. I love Hannah to bits. The
So
lovely Hannah.
what I'm saying, the
Oh,
other thing I would say is always check your spam box because the invitation was sitting there waiting for me and I didn't see it until I was clearing out, and then I realized this is on my doorstep. This is near my old stomping ground where I used to work. But yes, I'm going to be there speaking about loving the brothers and loving the sisters and what my book journey has been like to date. Which has been absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to getting dressed up. So I'll have my fascinator.
you like it now.
Yeah,
You're getting
yeah.
used to it
I'll be in my.
now. Tell you a secret. I'll tell
Go.
you a secret, listeners. When I asked this, my amazing friend, sister, confident, to send me her headshot, she sent me a fantastic picture of her massive fascinator. So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, how
I
am I
hear
going to
you.
work this off? I said, okay, I could edit it out. I thought if I edit it out, she'll see it, she'll be upset. So let me ask her for another picture. She loves her fascinators. It was lovely. I love it. So
Yes,
please
I'll
wear
be
another
wearing
one.
one next Saturday. And in the color scheme is yellow and white. So sorry, not yellow, orange and white. So I'll be wearing a
Oh,
fascinator on Saturday. It's becoming a bit of a
oh,
trademark. surprised with all the attention I received from wearing a
Okay.
fascinator, but the occasion calls for it, so I'll rise to the occasion and
You
look forward to
deserve
meeting all the women
you
there.
deserve it.
Did you
Okay.
ask a
So
question? I didn't hear you.
much. Thank you so
Right.
much. It's been no, I said thank you so much. Yes. If you want the domestic abuse helpline, it's 0808 if you're here in the UK, 200247. Thank you so much, Pamela. This has been a blast. Thank you. Even though we've been talking about things that are a little bit unpleasant, but thank you for being so sensitive with the subject. Thank you so much, and I'm hoping that listeners will take a lot of things from this. Until next time, to another edition of A Cup of Tea with Dr. Z. Thank you so much for letting us into your space on a Friday night or Friday afternoon or Friday morning, depending on where you are around the world. Until next time,
Thanks
we'll
for
see you
listening to A
again
Cup of Tea
soon.
with Dr. Z, your reinvention queen. We hope you've been motivated and inspired to go out there and conquer any obstacles and issues you may face. You can find Dr. Zena on all social platforms. Until next time, remember, you're not alone.